Name is Carla Curtsinger, and we are recording. You heard it here first. My name is Carla Curtsinger. I'm a freelance communications trainer, coach, and MC, and a proud UKCI alum, and I'll be your moderator today. Please join me in welcoming our expert panel. Search consultant in the marketing practice at TalentFoot, Robin Anthony. Senior Vice President at Robert Half Talent Solutions and UK alum in accounting, Lisa James. And the head of people at Icon and a UK alum in psychology, Lauren Miller. Welcome again, ladies, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, audience, if you have questions for our panel, as Brandy mentioned, please submit them in the chat window, and we'll answer them in the final 15 minutes of our panel today. Now, my first question really is for all the members of our panel. I'd like you to take a moment and describe your company and what type of recruiter you are. Robin, I'm going to let you kick things off for us.
Thanks, Carla. My name again is Robin Anthony. I'm with TalentFoot Executive Search. We are a boutique search firm and we specialize in marketing and communications. We do have a tech and a sales team as well here. But our primary focus is on high growth corporations with focus on using data and analytics to drive their business forward in high growth capacity.
Okay, great. Thanks, Robin. Thank you so much. Lisa with Robert Half, up to you.
Thank you. So I'm Lisa James. I am with Robert Half. We are an international firm. We are a placement agency. We have different practice groups that specialize in anything from accounting, technology, communications, creative, website design, content design, administrative staffing, and such. Our agency does contract or temporary staffing, which might be interesting to those of you that might be looking to gain some experience prior to graduation. My specialty is in the direct placement, permanent placement of accounting and financial professionals.
Okay, Lisa, thank you so much. I think I heard some areas there that will be of interest to our graduates. And Lauren, to you next.
Hi there, I'm Lauren Miller. My previous life, I led executive recruiting at Tesla for about 6 years, and over the past probably 9 months have been at a startup that does 3D printing. We 3D print things on Earth with companies like Lennar, Bjarke Ingels Group, and other architects, and then we work with NASA on some printing for the moon and Mars. So we have roles open. So I'm sort of on the other side of the house where I work for the company. I lead HR and recruiting there, but we have lots of roles there, and I can certainly speak to internship process and recruiting at Tesla as well.
Okay, well, again, thank you all for being here. It's interesting to hear all the different ways that you and your companies approach recruiting. And, I've always heard that there are different types of recruiting companies. I think already we've heard Robin, boutique, or sometimes we'll hear retained, although I don't know if we all like that word, firm. Lisa, a contingency firm, I think I've heard of. Obviously, Lauren is a corporate recruiter. And I believe, Lisa, you even said you sometimes do temporary work. But, I've heard the term traditional employment agency, Robin, and I don't know that anyone here described themselves as such. There's all these words: traditional, contingency, retained, temporary, corporate. Could you maybe tell me, what is a traditional employment agency and how it may differ from maybe the work that you and Lisa and Lauren do?
I can try. But I think that traditional employment agencies oftentimes work more on a candidate's behalf than a search firm does. I think that in the case of both myself and Lisa, our clients pay our fees. Our clients our corporations are our clients, and so we work on their behalf. However, we could never be successful without candidates. So I think there's an even pie slice when it comes to who we need more. It is definitely both clients and candidates. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but with respect to search firms and employment agencies, I think that we're both looking to make a win-win situation.
No, that's good to hear. Yeah, I think there's just so many different, there's such different terminology on how the firms, what they call themselves, that I think sometimes for anyone looking to work with a firm, they may be initially confused on if they do things differently. I think what made me feel better is knowing that you said you're working, you work for a firm, for a company, and they're paying the fees.
Yes.
Not myself, who's coming to you. So that's probably the first thing that made me feel better, and probably made others that are on this event feel better as well. So let's discuss. I know probably everyone that has joined our event today is probably in college or getting ready to graduate, and they may wonder, when is the best time to reach out to a recruiting firm? Before they graduate, or should they wait until they have that all-important diploma? What are your thoughts, Lisa, on when a college graduate should reach out to a recruiter or a recruiting firm?
Sure. I'm always happy to talk with anyone at any point in time in their career or phase of education, even if it's just to talk about what type of internships might be successful, or how can I get my resume in the best shape. What's interesting in the market that we're in today, and Robin, I'm sure you're seeing some similar things as well, clients are really vying for top talent. And to answer your question, if you're a student, you might not think that you're going to use a recruiter right out of the gate. That actually is very contrary to the truth. We've actually placed, just in February, we placed several individuals that are recent graduates, less than a year's worth of experience. We placed 8 of those individuals just in February alone. And what's also been interesting is companies are also becoming more and more competitive for those individuals that are going to be graduating in May, to go ahead and make some offers prior to graduation. So again, go ahead and talk to a recruiter now. That's not always going to be the norm, but don't miss out on those opportunities. So, long answer to a short question, a relationship with a recruiter is always going to be a good idea. Basically, Robin and I in our roles are eyes and ears to the marketplace, and we want to know what you're looking for, what you would be interested in hearing about. And so at any point in time, you can certainly reach out to us. I think it's always a good idea to have that relationship with your recruiter. I'm on campus at UK as often as I can possibly be, meeting with students at all phases so that they know who we are and how we can help whenever they're ready.
Robin, do you echo this? Do you feel like you can reach out, or you can establish that relationship with a recruiter even in your junior year? Can it be that early?
I definitely agree with what Lisa has said on this topic so far. I think one of my favorite things to say to young people when I reach out to them, and they say, "Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do yet," or my resume isn't ready to share, or something like that, is, if you give me 5 minutes when I need you, I'll give you an hour when you need me. I think that opening dialogue, having the understanding that we can't succeed without having great candidates in our pockets, we need you, and we, like Lisa said too, are the eyes and ears of what's going on in corporate America. That's one thing that our firm is extremely on top of, is gaining intel to what's happening out there. And, we can also help guide trajectory. If you don't know what you want to do in 2 years, we can talk through that with you, and not necessarily tell you where to go, but certainly give you avenues to explore.
That's amazing. Now, I'm curious, obviously, Lauren, you're the head of people at Icon. I'm curious to how you work with recruiters in this process.
Yeah, so we work on roles. So I guess our process is slightly more traditional in that we'll sort of post, we have internal recruiters, and we'll post the openings that we have, and then reach out and sort of communicate. But we also internally directly reach out to folks on LinkedIn. So I guess that's one piece I'd say, is that if we're looking for folks, that's a great place to start, building out that LinkedIn profile, making sure you have a professional picture up there, making sure a resume is ready to go if we do reach out to you about that. I think another piece I was thinking about, when I was at UK, I did an internship, and I did that obviously still in my senior year, so before I had the degree, and that was very helpful, and was also something I could put on the resume, you know, when I was looking for permanent roles, and sometimes can turn into, like, I certainly saw roles, internships turn into permanent roles at Tesla with folks that we'd hire in internships. So.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Now, for those college students or who are close to graduation or establishing that relationship with a recruiter like you, Robin, or you, Lisa, what do you feel like is the proper communications channel to reach out? They're making that initial contact with you. What's the best way to reach out to you? Is it a phone call? Is it email? What's the best way to make that first connection?
I would say yes to all of those.
That's good to know there are options.
It's always going to be the first impression. So I always appreciate a phone call. I always appreciate an email. I always appreciate a note on LinkedIn. I think all of those are very professional channels. I would just encourage to, make sure it is a professional, reach, that's going to be the first impression. Things that I will always mention to individuals at any point in their career is, everything's a reflection of you professionally. When you're in the job market, when you're starting to look, have a very professional email address, because that's going to, again, be something that's going to reflect on you. Email addresses are lots of fun, and I have loved the ones that have been very creative, but they may leave an initial impression that was not your intention. I would also, just for the time that you're searching, make sure that your voicemail on your cell phone is, one, set up, and two, that it is also, again, a professional reflection of you. If you live with roommates and they may be in a situation to answer a phone, take a message, whatever the case may be, make sure that they know that you're in a search, and again, that they'll professionally get you information in a timely fashion. But communication is critical, and to the points that have been made, there are so many different ways. Use all of them. It's definitely communication is critical.
Absolutely. Anything you would add to that, Robin?
Yeah, for sure. All great points, Lisa. I never thought about the email address thing, but now that I think about it, I've seen some fun ones. No, I think that exploring career opportunities is a very research and time intensive investment. You're making a considered purchase in yourself, and to jump into anything unknowingly isn't a good reflection of you or how you spend your time. I think that aligning yourself with the right types of companies and the right types of recruiters is really crucial to your success in establishing that relationship that you'll hopefully have and leverage forever. We always hope that a candidate out of college, like Lisa said, placing 7 graduates in the last month is impressive, but ultimately you're going to be a hiring manager someday, and we want to definitely be part of your success moving forward. But do your homework and make sure that the firm that you're reaching out to is one that aligns with your trajectory, and whether it's functionally or industry oriented. Do your homework and know who you're talking with, also as part of your outreach.
Well, and to kind of build on that, whether they're calling you or whether they're putting together an email with a very professional email address linked to it, what information do you need in that initial contact with you at the firm?
Well, Lisa mentioned using LinkedIn. I think that is and will continue to be the foremost medium for meeting people professionally and networking professionally. Having a robust enough but not too juicy LinkedIn profile, I think, is crucial. And reaching out through there, even just to make a connection for now or future contact, is probably the primary way that we all connect. I don't know if I hope that's true. But at the same time, having a concise outreach message forget the email address we're going to respond to, but why are you reaching out to me? What do you really hope to get out of this? And you know, are you going to do your part too, which is transparency earns trust. So just be genuine.
And obviously, Lauren, I know you're head of people at Icon. Do you find people reaching out to you directly in your role? And is that
Yes,
something you would encourage?
absolutely. Yes. I love when people send LinkedIn messages and emails. We actually have a lot of companies now will have like a talent community application, which is just sort of like an open invitation to send in your resume. So if you don't see the exact role listed, and you are a new grad, go ahead and send in the resume, send in what you'd like to work in. And that's a wonderful way too. I think just when you do that, making sure that the profile and resume is triple checked and wants to sort of reflect you the way that you'd like to be reflected. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea. Always reach out. You never know. And you never know what opportunities might be there.
Well, I think this kind of, this next question kind of feeds into this whole idea of LinkedIn and the information that's there and how robust it is. A lot of college graduates, when they're reaching out to recruiters, may look at their LinkedIn or their resume and say, I really don't have any professional experience except an internship. And is that enough to interest a recruiter? So what are your feelings on someone approaching you with the only professional experience being a recent internship? Is that enough to make you interested or feel like that you can market them? I'll throw that to you, Robin.
I like to see full transparency in a LinkedIn profile or resume, no matter at what stage of someone's career, because I think that even if you scooped ice cream at a whatever shop when you were 14, shows work ethic. It shows that you know how to interact with people, whatever it may be. And I think too that being humble in your outreach goes a long way, because you don't really know what you're going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do when I was 20 something, had no idea. And, I think we all have kind of a plan, a short-term plan. Talk about it, because it generates ideas. And I just think that an internship, a project that you did with your graduating class, anything that you've done for a family business throughout your upbringing and things, that all counts for something. And you got to start somewhere. So put it all out there and leverage it to your benefit.
Absolutely. Lisa, what would you add in this idea of all I have is an internship?
Sure. I think sometimes, oftentimes people undervalue the value of that internship. And so it's a matter of, well, let's talk about your day to day. What did you learn from that? What things did you suggest? Any impacts that you made, a report that you created, something that you left it better than you saw it? Sometimes just talking through those things. I actually talked with an individual who had worked at a grocery store through their entire college career, and those were pretty excessive hours. And so it was the success of time management and being focused on doing a good job at work, and also holding a 3.89 GPA at graduation. So very impressive things that came out of that. And as we dug in, in my world in accounting and finance, inventory is important, budgeting is important, being mindful of what it's cost, and those types of things. And we were able to just kind of dig in and kind of pull some of those things forward that she actually had some experience with. And she was able to talk about that in an interview. And actually, because of that, made her one of the top candidates in the selection process, which is still going on as we speak. So fingers crossed. But it's, I think that you just have to kind of dig in, and to Robin's point, it's a relationship. Very transparent conversation about what you did. There's a trust that's built there on both sides. I think through those conversations, we can kind of help pull the things that are going to really make that difference in an interview for you.
I
Excellent.
would say there's a software piece too. I mean, you don't need to have gotten some of these skill sets on the job. You know, you can, this is an incredible time to be able to go out there and find some of the skill sets and the software skills that you need. If you know, like, take a look at job descriptions for roles that you want and see, you know, is it Revit, you know, if it's specific to marketing tools, take trainings on that and have it on your profile that you have maybe beginner level proficiency in some of these. Sometimes those are keywords that we'll use to find folks.
You make a really good point.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, thank you for that. Now, my next question, I think we have already covered this one about the cost of the job seeker. And I just want to make sure and confirm with everyone, we have decided that the company, with recruiters, the company pays the cost, the college grad or the college candidate would not incur any cost using a recruiter. Is that correct?
Agreed.
Yes.
We all agree? I just think that's something that I myself probably in college may have not even thought to use a recruiter because I was concerned of the cost piece. So I think that would put a lot of people at ease. And Phil, you may get more phone calls or more emails based on that alone. So my next question is, and this is probably something, you know, I feel like that's very unique when you're working with college graduates is, because that may seem for me, when I was in college, is I might feel like there may be a smaller universe of jobs that do pertain to my skills or my experience. Is when you, the recruiter, present me with a job to consider, how can I, as the candidate, figure out if it's the right fit? Robin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think at the level that we're talking to this audience about, Carla, it's important to not focus too closely on a entry level job description or role. I do most of my outreach to early career prospects, candidates with not a specific role in mind, because I'd rather hear from them dig in and really hear from them where their strengths and interests lie, where they see their career taking them in 5, 6, 8 years. I think to focus on a particular role can really put blinders on that both the candidate and I might not want to work within. I think that if a recruiter comes to you as an early career candidate prospect, have a conversation about you and your strengths, your weaknesses, your areas of interest, your personal passions, your areas of dislike if you don't want to work for a tobacco company or a pharmaceutical company or whatever, because of personal preferences, say that. It's not to say I won't come at you with one of those every now and then just to test the waters, but I think being really open and open-minded about a role that anybody comes at you with is a good opportunity to just open dialogue and share your preferences so that I know next time what not to come to you with or what to come to you with that I might not have thought of. So really honing in on bullet points on a job description when anyone reaches out to you should be taken as an opportunity to open dialogue no matter what, and share your personal preferences and things. So, but with respect to a job listing or most job descriptions really aren't that great. And so it's not the fault of the company or the recruiter. It is that you just simply can't put all of the look and feel and warm fuzzies in a job description. And there usually are a lot that can only be put into context during a conversation when you understand the company and the hiring team and the culture and all of that. So there's a lot more than a job description that you can't find out without a conversation.
Lisa, anything you would add to that?
Sure. No, I agree with all of that. Very well said. I think the only thing that I would add is, you know, at this point in your career, the job is going to be a good opportunity to get your foot in the door, to show what you'll be able to do. I think questions are sometimes better spent on what's the management team going to be like? What's my mentor going to be like? Are they going to be invested in me? I'm going to be very invested in them as a company, speaking on behalf of the candidate. What's the investment going to be? How am I going to be able to grow within this organization? What's the potential? So I think mentoring, and those are things that when I'm talking about individuals at this point in their career, as we're talking about not just job, task, money, benefits, all of those things are obviously important, but what's the next step of your first position? Is it within this company? What are you going to gain with your time in that company? And I think as important is, how is that company going to invest in you?
Well said. Well said. Something that's this is actually something that I've thought of while we were talking, and you mentioned, you made me think of it, Robin, when you mentioned like keyword search. I think anyone that has done any searching themselves for jobs online knows that they're using technology to match candidates with the job description. And so often good candidates are missed, I think, this is me, because of the technology is parsing you against a job description. And I would think one advantage of recruiters, you can probably get past that technology. Am I true? Am I right in thinking that? And Lisa and Robin and Lauren, I'll let you just see if I'm misguided in that thinking that would be one way of avoiding maybe being stepped over by the technology that we might have to rely on if we're just doing it ourselves in the internet.
I would say, yes, we can help get past the keyword search. We in our profession as a recruiter, I'm going to get to bring life to a very one-dimensional resume. And when I'm working with a client, I can tell them about an individual, not a piece of paper. This is an individual that I've met, that I've spent time with, that I've talked about what they're looking for and what they bring to the table in a position like this. This is not only a good candidate for you, but you are exactly what they've shared with me that you're looking for. I can gauge that and actually bring life to an individual. So I'm actually presenting a full individual as opposed to a document on a piece of paper that can only compare by keyword by keyword by keyword by the other 50 applicants that won't have that representation. And that's why it's so important to have those meetings and those very candid, transparent conversations so that we can be that voice of you directly to the hiring manager, to kind of get you out of the group and into the individuals that are actually going to be, having the meetings.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, because I think we keep hearing more and more about how sophisticated that technology is becoming. And so you sometimes feel like you're just being left out, more and more left out by it. But it's a fascinating thing to read about.
Yeah. I would add to what Lisa just said, and getting into a little bit more of the creative component of some resumes that we see these days. Don't get too fancy. Even creatives and communications and information type roles can like all the colors in your picture and things on resumes. Those are very difficult for applicant tracking systems, ATSs, to pick up on. You're not doing yourself any service to have a real fancy resume with lots of bells and whistles in it, like Lisa said. And Lauren, you probably see this with a lot of inbound applicants coming at you on the corporate side. Your ATS just can't see all of the pretty stuff that you put in there. We want meat and potatoes. And I think from a corporate recruiter standpoint or a recruiter standpoint, we're typically going after very specific types of talent, Lisa, right? And
correct.
When we're doing outreach, I think what Lauren sees mostly perhaps is maybe inbound stuff, at least for the early career type roles that they have open on the corporate side. But be very cognizant of what your resume looks like from a technical perspective.
Agreed. Yeah. Simpler the better. And then you can always reach out with that in mail, whether it's to external recruiters or whether it's to internal recruiters. You can always sort of reach out to add a little bit more color to just a resume going in.
Yeah. Or add a link to your portfolio. We can go look at your stuff there.
Great idea.
Great, thank you for that. Now, my next question, and this is probably something I would love to hear from all of you, is what do you feel like is the single most important thing that our students need to know when it comes to working with a recruiting firm? If there's one thing they remember about today's conversation, what's the single most important thing that they need to know about working with a recruiter or a recruiting firm? Who wants to go first?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
It's a relationship. I know Robin alluded to it as well, and I couldn't agree more. It's a relationship that starts now and carries through your entire career, and relationships require communication on both sides. So it's not a call a recruiter one time and say, okay, I've done it, and now I'm going to go off, and now the magic's going to happen. It can take some follow up. It's going to take continued conversations to kind of really get to know each other, so that they are bringing to you what you're looking for, and you're communicating effectively to them what you're looking for. But it is very much a two-way street, and just an exercise in communication.
Well said. Yes, please.
I think, okay, I was going to say on my side, what comes to me first is just transparency and honesty. I think transparency about what you're actually looking for, or if you don't know what you're looking for, just transparency generally around that is fine, okay, and helpful. And then sort of some soul searching and honesty with yourself about what do you like, what would be ideal for you. And some of this is around type of company, as we've touched on a little bit. Are you a mission driven company person? Is like sort of being intrinsically motivated by what the company actually does the most important to you? Or does bigger company, do different types of companies that provide different types of opportunities feel best to you? I think some of doing that soul searching before you go in is a really, really helpful piece. And it may change as you go through the process and begin to talk to different companies and recruiters, but I think that part is really useful to you.
Anything else we can add? Any other things we need to know?
Don't be afraid to reach out to recruiters either. We don't bite. We really want to talk to you.
Well, not only don't be afraid to reach out, but don't be afraid to respond. I think that some of the frustration that recruiters feel is that, and we kind of touched on this, how do you know if the recruiter is coming at you with the right job? You don't, is the answer. And you won't until you have a conversation. So have it. 5 minutes is never a waste of time.
It might not be this role, but it may be the next role that is the right one that comes from that conversation. Yeah.
Absolutely. I apologize for stepping on you.
No, I'm sorry.
Something you said earlier, I just wanted to ask about too. You mentioned doing some soul searching. I know many of us are asked sometimes to take different, personality tests or things like that. Is that helpful to a recruiter if I've taken and I'm going to date myself, Myers-Briggs or any of the other more timely testing that kind of gives you some information on my work style, those kind of testing? Is that useful, or is that something you incorporate in your work?
I don't use it for candidates, but I think it's helpful for yourself. I took one recently. I think it's helpful to know about yourself as a candidate and an employee. I don't include it as part of I think many different types of personalities and people can be wonderful in the same role, even sometimes for different reasons. But it's really helpful, I think, for yourself to know, do you like working in a busy office? Do you like a role where you're sort of part of a team or you're not? I think some of that can help you triangulate on what would you enjoy.
Yeah, our firm uses Hogan assessment, typically only at the executive level. I think that really trying to to grasp or to utilize any sort of assessment tool in your 20s is pointless, frankly. You have a foundation, but it is not established in your professional life yet. And I think too that sometimes those like Lauren said, are good for, you know, personal perspective and awareness, but at the early career level, I don't find value in those, and I don't know that a company necessarily would either.
I have clients that do administer them at different points and phases of the hiring. And the only thing that I would say is we as an agency don't administer them, because the ones that we would administer may not be germane to the culture of the company that we are representing. And so the company will have one that'll kind of be calibrated based on their own internal bell curve of, you know, how their managers test and such. The only thing that I would say is be prepared for them if they are a part of the interview process. You know, take them seriously, take it at a time where you can start and finish it the entire time. Don't start and have to leave in 15 minutes and try to get back in. That can be a bit challenging to get back in sometimes. And don't try to trick it. You know, answer the question honestly. It's not a pass or fail. It's just a let's get to know you a little bit better and how it fits into the culture. So don't think, what do they want me to say here? Just be honest with your answers.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Well, we have actually gotten through all the questions I had planned. We were very efficient. So I thank you so much for your questions. And now I want to turn to the chat window to see if we have any questions there, or if anyone wants to open their microphone and ask a question. Either way works well. What questions do we have for our expert panel? As you can see, they're willing to answer any questions I have thrown at them on the fly, and I appreciate that.
So I'll kick it off while everybody's getting their questions ready. Thank you all so much for talking about how important LinkedIn is, resumes are. And you've given some good examples, but is there any like 1 or 2 or 3 things that make a resume and or a LinkedIn profile stand out? Number one, and this is kind of a multi-part questions, we have a lot of majors that do have portfolios. Is there a preferred way to present a portfolio? I mean, some have PDFs, some have websites. Does it matter? Is there one way that's more beneficial than others?
I don't know where most people land a portfolio on their own website, or I think there are several services that accommodate those, but I'm not quite sure what those are. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Usually we take a link. We'll say, please include a link to your portfolio, and then what I've seen, at least on the design side of things, there are several different places that might host the portfolios that are fine to use. That part has been preference, is what I've seen. For your LinkedIn profile and for your resume, the things I always would tell people to do are sort of those action words beginning each statement, making it concise and beginning it with an action word like drove revamp of careers page, or assisted with, ran, so that it's clear and accurate about your level of involvement. Did you own that project? Did you help with that project? I think that can be really helpful in each role, and just making sure you have, I don't know, 6 bullets for maybe each role that was recent, to really make it clear what you actually did in that position. I think that's true of both LinkedIn and a resume, in my opinion. The more words you have on LinkedIn, which is where I primarily search for keywords and for candidates, the better, because I might put in a keyword of Wix, or whatever the keyword is, and it will search all those profiles and might turn you up there.
Yeah. While we're talking about resume inclusion and LinkedIn profiles and things, I think in the day and age of remote, hybrid, on-site work, it's still important for a company to know what time zone you're in. And on the subject of remote, hybrid, on-site, I think it's important, if you can, to realize early in your career that being in an office is extremely beneficial to you as you rub elbows with your teammates and really learn day to day, see what's going on, see what everybody is doing. I think everybody wants a remote role and to sit with their dog on their couch on their lap and get up and have popcorn and stuff. But I am seeing a lot of, and I don't know if this is true with your company, Lauren, or your clients, Lisa, but the hybrid and on-site work expectation is coming back and probably will continue to. And I think it's important to be welcoming of that, especially as you start off your career. There's no better place to learn to play than right in the sandbox.
I completely agree. So well said.
We're hybrid, so I might be the counter to this one. I think that you have to, I think that in order to be a remote or hybrid employee, you have to really take the time to make sure you're getting in front of people and doing outstanding work, and be setting up regular meetings and a regular cadence for things. I think that's what I would say is always when I'm when I'm an advocate for that type of setup, I think is that you have to really take control of your own time and your own performance, though, to make sure that you are getting the face time with folks, that you are performing, and that you're doing those one-on-ones and check-ins if you do happen to be remote or hybrid.
Okay, so one other question that I have, I remember this so much when I was doing my job search. Is there a sweet spot for, I mean, how do you do research for the recruiters? How do you find the right recruiters for what you're trying to get as a job? Is there, how many should I contact? I mean, I remember way, and this dates me, there was a red book where it had all the recruiters in the United States, and I went through and contacted all of them. I mean, is there a good way and a bad way to figure out how many to contact?
I think you can tap into your network. Who's had a good experience with a recruiter? Can you refer that person to me? So I think, referrals are always a good way to go. And what was your experience and how did you work with them?
Mhm.
I often tell individuals, go online and look for the job on Indeed. What are you looking for? And do you see a prevalent recruiter in that space? If there's a design position, a communications director position, and you see the same recruiting agency listing positions as well, that's probably the one that most specializes in your field of major. If you're going to go and look up accounting and on Indeed, you're going to see a lot of Robert Half placement that will tell you that Robert Half is the leader in accounting and financial placement. So there's ways to go about that.
Yeah, and just to answer the rest of that question, like Lisa said, it does depend on your industry or your functional focus, I think. And with respect to really picking the few that you want to be your recruiter family, take your time and do that, but definitely do it, because there's nothing worse from a recruiter's perspective than a candidate who is participating with a lot of recruiters in the same space. It doesn't, same with companies who, engage multiple recruiters to fill a contingency role. It doesn't look good for any of us. We like to know that we are trusted and that invested in you and you and us. I think that it's important to keep your circle close and tight, but you do that through time. Nothing like casting a wide net early on, but do your research and really focus on who you want to work with from a recruiter standpoint, and make sure that they're oriented around understand you and oriented around the function and type of industries that you want to work for.
Great advice. Thank you so much for that. Well, I'm going to check the chat window and see if we have any final questions.
Well, we do have one more, which is kind of an interesting one. People are so impressed with you all and your background and what you all have done. What if any of our students are interested in becoming a recruiter? What's the qualifications? What would be that entry-level job that gets them to start working toward that?
there's definitely no planning. It always happens totally accidentally. None of us planned this.
I've heard that before, Robin.
That's very true. That's very true. I'd be happy to talk with anyone about this as a career path. You've got my QR code. You can download my contact information. I would invite anybody that has any interest at all. I'm happy to talk with you about it. It has been a fantastic career for me. I was an accountant for 10 years. To your point, Robin, of accidentally, falling into my love and my passion. I never dreamed that I would be doing this, but I can't imagine having done anything else. It is a fantastic career. You meet the best people. The relationships that I've built have turned into lifelong relationships and friendships, and it's just been a really, really fantastic career path. So I would encourage anybody to certainly consider it.
Same. Let's see. I did an HR internship through GE at the Lexington lamp plant, and it was wonderful. And I hadn't thought about. I was actually thinking about doing research instead, and I loved working with people. I loved that you are changing someone's life. You truly are helping somebody do something completely different, and has been incredible. I'm one of the things I'm most passionate about in the world. So happy to talk to anybody too. But I would say a generalist role. If you want to see if you might like the recruiting side, but you're not positive, an HR generalist role or an HR internship where you kind of get to do a little bit of everything was a really wonderful way for me to see.
Yeah, I was in marketing and analytics in the hospitality industry before I got into recruiting, and it was totally accidental. I just realized that I was getting people jobs all the time, and that recruiters make a lot of money doing that. So it became attractive. But I think too that having any early career experience should be on the generalist type basis, like Lauren just said. Whether you're looking to get into recruiting, start in a generalist role, or a lot of companies now have employer branding opportunities, recruitment marketing opportunities. There's a lot of focus in diversity and inclusion, and all kinds of human resources protocols and regulations that need to be learned if you're going the HR route. But recruiting is an absolutely fantastic and rewarding function, and everybody uses it or does it in some fashion. It's not a hardcore sales job, but it's really I think I couldn't imagine anything as rewarding.
A recruiting coordinator role is another role you can absolutely look for, be on the lookout for. Talent acquisition coordinator, recruiting coordinator. One of the most wonderful people who I actually still work with her. I've brought her a couple places, began in that role and sort of spidered out into other things she likes doing. She works on the people operations side now, but it's a really great way. It is a really wonderful way to start in recruiting or recruiting adjacent roles, and then you can you get to know everybody in the company, interestingly, and you get to meet lots of people. So if you're excited about that, it's a wonderful one.
So I believe Kwame would like to ask a question.
Yes, sorry, my video is kind of choppy, so
No
I
problem.
apologize for that. Please, so I wanted to ask the recruiters about students in my shoes. So I graduate in May, and I am also heading off to do my graduate school at Cornell for business analytics. But for Cornell, their program is kind of hybrid, so we only go to New York to present our capstone projects. I wasn't sure if for like a student in my shoes, it presents like a recruiter still attracted to students that are who graduated and are doing their masters, but it's more like a hybrid program where they're not like residential. And if people like me should go ahead and contact like recruiters to see if we can get into a job.
let me make sure, Kwame, that I understand your question. In your master's program, will you be available 40 hours a week during standard hours, 8 to 5, and your courses are maybe online with some occasional travel to New York to present your projects?
Yes, yes. So yeah, I will be available. I believe it's just like for the capstone project, it's just like a weekly, it's just once a year. So yeah, so and it's just like a 1 year program. So
Think there's certainly some opportunity to have conversation about your availability. If it's a 1 year program, how concentrated is that program? Are you really able to work 40 hours a week and put the studies and those types of things in order to get all of the program, get out of it everything that you need to put into it? But I certainly think that there could be conversation about what you're accessible and available to. In this day and age where there are hybrid schedules, some remote schedules still are out there, where there might be some flexibility about that as well. I certainly think it's worth a conversation.
okay, all
Agreed.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, and congrats again. I just want to make a note. I know we have a couple other questions, but I just wanted to make a note to the students. Brandy dropped an attendance tracking survey in the chat window. She may need to drop that again because we've had quite a bit of activity in the chat window, but you want to use that link to confirm your attendance for class credit. And also we'll send a survey after Career Week to learn about what went well and where we can improve. So you want to make sure that you share your participation today. Now, did we have a couple of more questions?
I do not. Brandy? No?
Are we gone through all the questions?
Well,
All right.
those are good questions.
We had a great questions. Well, if that is the end of our panel, I just want to again thank Robin and Lisa and Lauren for sharing your time and your expertise today. And of course, thank our audience for their thoughtful questions. We hope you've enjoyed the UK College of Communication and Information Spring Career Fair. And I want everyone to have a great weekend. Thanks again, everyone. Take care.
Thank you all so much.